Now, how do we organise the movement? As I've already said, we are at an early stage. In the early days of the anti-poll tax movement, it was all quite low-key. There were often arguments in the Socialist Party about which local branch of the Socialist Party had the first demonstration against the poll tax. And everybody thinks they did it. They were all about the same time, actually. But the reality is whoever was first, none of them were very big. You were talking about demonstrations of hundreds, not thousands, in local areas at that point in time. And it was when people got their poll tax bills on the mat that suddenly these small meetings of 15 or 20 activists became massive meetings. Meetings in car parks of hundreds of people, going to 2 or 3 different meetings in the night to speak to people on different council estates. Again, you saw a little glimpse of it in one street corner meeting there that was shown in the film. It was the same in Greece. When the cuts were first announced, our members in Greece say there was silence. People were stunned, they didn't know what to do. And it took a few months before they responded with a movement. Well, we think in Britain, for many people, the equivalent of the poll tax bills landing on their mats may well be George Osborne's speech, the Comprehensive Spending Review, on the 20th of October. But it won't be for everybody. There will be other people who have to actually see how that speech translates down to their local services before they fully feel the effects and start to react. So we think the first stage here in Britain is not a general strike. You don't start with a general strike, but is a massive national demonstration that brings together the trade unionists, the students, the people who use the services, mobilises hundreds of thousands of people to say that we will not accept those cuts. And a demonstration like that which put a warning shot across the bows of the government, but it would also enormously raise the confidence of all the people who at the moment think they're the only ones who oppose the cuts and just see this constant cascade on the telly, you've got to accept them, and so on. So it would prepare the ground for the next stage. Now we think that that demonstration should be called by the trade unions. The trade unions in Britain have over 6 million members, and they are potentially an enormously powerful force. You've only got to look at one relatively small group of workers going on strike to defend health and safety, our health and safety on the London Underground, but how they can bring London to a halt to get a bit of a glimpse of the potential power of the trade union movement and the working class. So we think the trade unions should organise a demonstration. And this is another thing that is a little bit different actually to the poll tax. Because during the poll tax, we campaigned at every stage for the trade union leaders to lead and to organise a campaign against the poll tax. And in words, before it was implemented, they said, oh yes, yes, yes. But when it actually came to it, they vacated the stage and it was left to the supposed unofficial movement, led by us, to lead the anti-poll tax movement alone. But this time is a bit different. There's no question. There are right-wing trade union leaders who've bought the logic of the market, even more than was the case in 1990, and are extremely cautious about organising any serious struggle against the cuts. Actually, would rather we clung on for a Labour government in the hope that that would be a little bit better. But at the same time, even those right-wing trade union leaders are going to be under massive pressure from their members to act, because the poll tax was a tax. You paid it in your community, in your house. This struggle is going to be over jobs and pensions and in the workplace, and therefore, like it or not, the trade union leaders are going to be under huge pressure to act on this issue. So that's why the Socialist Party, as part of the National Shop Stewards Network, which is a body of workplace representatives across the union movement, went to lobby the Trade Union Congress and to demand that they called this national demonstration against the cuts. And you could say we had a kind of victory, because under the pressure of the lobby and the different left-wing trade unions like the PCS, the RMT and so on, they have said they'll call a national demonstration against the cuts. There's just one problem with that. They've called it for March next year. Now, that's 6 months after the Comprehensive Spending Review. The number of job losses that are going to have taken place by then, it's far, far too late, and we cannot wait till then. So we're keeping the pressure on them to call to bring the demonstration forward, but at the same time we have to mobilise from below. And on the 23rd of October, the Saturday after the comprehensive spending review, when we wanted a national demonstration, the Shop Stewards Network in London has come together with the RMT, the PCS, the Firefighters Union to organise a demonstration in London to the TUC headquarters, which we will make as big as we possibly can. And similar demonstrations are taking place in other towns and cities around the country. So that's one issue for us, the question of a national demonstration. But as I said, a demonstration is only the beginning. We will not defeat these cuts. Even if we get 2 million on the streets like we did at the time of the start of the Iraq War, we will not defeat these cuts just with a demonstration. And we would say that a demonstration should be an immediate launching pad for a 24-hour public sector, in the first instance, general strike. If they don't retreat after a 24-hour public sector strike, you'd be talking about a 24-hour general strike of the whole workforce. But start with the public sector, with those workers who are most directly affected. And by the way, we don't have a history in Britain of 24-hour general strikes. We've come close a whole number of times, but they've never actually happened. And that is different to Spain, to Greece, to Southern Europe. And there's lots of bad things about that it's harder to get one here. But there's a positive side as well. Even a 24-hour public sector general strike in Britain would give enormous confidence to working class people and would petrify the capitalists and the Con Dem government, because it would be so new, such a big thing to happen, that it would really frighten them and build the movement the movement. Now, there are those who will say, well, we can't do it in Britain because of the anti-trade union laws. In other countries in Europe, you can legally have a public sector general strike, but we're not able to do that. Now, we do have the most draconian anti-trade union laws in the Western world. There's no question about that. And we in the Socialist Party are not lightly in favour of breaking those laws, because you are asking unions to risk their funds and so on. But the other side of it is this struggle is too big, too serious, to leave individual unions to fight alone. And as Bob Crow, the General Secretary of the RMT, said, if his members are fighting against cuts, and the firefighters are fighting against cuts, and they're both balloting, it would be madness not to coordinate the ballot so they could all come out on strike on the same day. And actually, you could get a legal 24-hour public sector strike on that basis if you coordinated the ballots, for example, on the issue of pensions. But if they use the courts against the trade unions, which is very likely given what's happened with BA and other workers, then we have to be prepared to defy the anti-trade union laws. And if the public sector trade unions did that across the board, saying they were striking to defend our public services, to defend the next generation's education, that would be very powerful, and it would destroy the anti-trade union legislation in one bite.